So I walk in, and this motherfucker in a red shirt looks like a goddamn dickless Winnie the Pooh just standing there, bleeding all over the place.
Oh, no way. Oh my God. No way. Oh my God.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 118 of 1 million of the Serial Chillers podcast. As always, I ask, in the new office, how goes it? Hello, Greg. Having to do real producer work tonight.
Right? I'm fucking cool, man.
I'm fucking cool, man.
You are?
Well, hey, I'm glad to hear it. We're also here with Paul and Isaac.
Yeah.
We will get more of them in a minute. But first, most of you know how the show works. Let me explain it for anybody that doesn't. Each week, I sit down with old friends, new friends, good friends, and bad friends to tell them the story of an infamous serial killer. Nope. See, I tried to do it raw again.
Oh, see?
Yep. Infamous serial killer, something true crime, dark, creepy, unsolved, or otherwise mysterious.
Do you want to take it all? You want to take it all over?
Sure.
Okay.
But I'm going to read it. Each week, I sit down with old friends, new friends, good friends, and bad friends to tell the story of an infamous serial killer, something true crime, dark, creepy, unsolved, or otherwise mysterious. Remember, if you have questions about questions, be sure to ask questions because I cannot answer questions about questions if you never ask questions.
Yes.
Get ready for the button switch, Greg. Are there any questions?
Yes.
For old time's sake, no. Welcome to and let's play the Serial Chillers podcast. Question number 1. Okay, wait, nope, I lied. I have 2 stories for you guys tonight. Unsolved stories.
Okay.
So I don't have a killer, but I've got 2 events.
Okay.
All right?
Bigfoot did it.
How'd you know? Shit. All right, never mind. All right, thanks, guys. Remember, don't talk to strangers.
Saw the Instagram story.
Yeah. This guy, the first story we're going to do is the disappearance of Joseph Force Crater. Now, I will say,
Is Force Crater? Is it
middle name Joseph Force Crater.
Oh, because Force Crater sounds like something that like Yoda leaves when he lands.
Or it sounds like when they do sci-fi, but they like need to have like a Native American like sci-fi. He's like, I am Tom Force Crater.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I got from it the first time I ever saw it. Yes. Okay. So, question number 1: in what year was Joseph Force Crater born? Paul already had his answer written down.
I know the first question. I've been here before.
Paul said 1971. Isaac said 1942. Give Isaac 250 points because if Joseph Force Crater was born.
Ow, my nipple.
Jesus.
God, real aggressive.
You are a big person. Isaac gets 250 points. Joseph Force Crater was born 1889.
Wait. Oh. No, you're good.
Yeah.
He said 18.
Neither of us were close. I just happened to be less worse.
Isaac was like about 60 years. You were a little closer to 100.
I just heard 89, and I was like, wait, I feel like I'm closer?
All right. With that, Isaac won the first question. So we will go to you and say, hello, Isaac. Welcome to the show.
Oh, welcome. Thank you.
It's good to have you, buddy. It's a long time coming.
I know. It's my second episode in like over the 3-year span.
Yeah, like 5 years.
Has it been 5?
Well, we were off for
2.5.
2.5 years off.
Well,
No, I think it was 3.
3 full years almost. Yeah, we went October to October for 3 years.
Wow.
And then we came back. So it's about 5 years since we began. I think you were on one of the very early episodes.
Yeah, I think I was in the 70s. I think like 72.
Was
or
it that
73.
late?
I think so.
Oh,
It was
wow.
it was
Okay.
a while.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right.
We'll have to check with a historian of some sort.
Yeah.
And you know him, you love him. And look, I will say I did, because you don't know this yet. Last week I used Bigfoot's theme song because I was able to find it. This week there was no time, but you didn't like your theme song. So here's the thing.
He did something.
TM. No, I didn't do anything. That's what I'm just saying. Is I don't want you to be upset that you don't have a theme song and Bigfoot did. I'm just letting you know now.
I wouldn't have been, but now I am.
I would take offense to it.
Yeah,
So,
I wouldn't have been
I-
offended, but now that you brought it up, I am.
So welcome, Paul.
This will be reflected in my performance tonight.
I want an
It's
asterisk.
going to be fucking terrible.
So you're blaming me now for
Yes.
not having a theme song that you didn't know that you could possibly have. All right, never mind.
Have you met me?
13 questions to go, Paul. Plenty of time. Welcome, guys. Thank you for being here.
He didn't welcome me, did he?
First, I just said welcome, guys. Are you part of those 2 guys that I was probably welcoming?
I don't know. Is he?
Don't be like this today. Not today, Paul.
Tomorrow?
Tomorrow, yes.
Okay.
Tomorrow, yeah. When none of us are with you.
Poor Kennedy.
So,
Sorry.
This is the first episode in the new office, guys. Thanks for being here. Thanks for, just,
I traveled a long way.
yeah.
Many mountains.
That's what, when I
Many
remember, I was like,
mountains.
man, I could tell you guys are from Fresno. Like, whoa, that thing is 7 miles away, bro. Well, welcome, guys. You guys can be part of this, too. Go check us out on all the social media grams. You know we doing stuff out there. We're on Instagram and TikTok mainly. If you want to message Greg more directly, message TikTok. If you want to message me more directly, go to Instagram. That's kind of how it works.
That's how it divvied up in the prenup that we drew up.
Yeah, exactly. Every episode that you're hearing, you can also see on YouTube as of right now. So go to our channel, Serial Chillers Podcast, and it's actually, we have a YouTube thing now, so it's at Serial Chillers Podcast. Go. YouTube.com/at Serial Chillers Podcast. Threadless store if you want to wear anything. There is new stickers and keychains available at serialchillerspod.com. That will take you to all of this. There are links for everything we just talked about on there. Also, the Patreon if you guys want to help us pay for this new office. What are you doing there, Paul?
I'm messaging Instagram and TikTok.
Okay.
TikTok's not going through. Did you guys block me?
Probably.
The fuck?
So, serialchillerspod.com for everything, including stickers and new keychain that we have.
The
out
keychain
there.
stick. I got to take a look at it today. It's pretty badass.
Thanks, man. Also, if you guys want to just join the community, check out the Discord. We're hanging out there constantly. And we do true crime, but we also do like lots of food.
I love food.
Lots
Big fan.
lots of video games. So we do some books and TV and movies, and we all just hang out and talk about things we like, and it's a fun place to be. These guys are in it. If
I'm
you want
there.
to see them, come check them out.
Don't do
Also, if you want to mail us any cool drugs or anything, P.O. Box 1229, Clovis, California 93613. Remember, if the drugs are extra dangerous or explosive, attention, hella Greg. Again, serialchillerspod.com for everything we just talked about above. It is lonelyfans.com with 2 Z's. We do own that, by the way. That is real. Every time Greg says it, that's 100% authentic. That's lonelyfans.com, 2 Z's.
There's no feet pics, though.
There are no fee picks, I assure you of this. But yeah, really quickly back to the Patreon. We did all the shout outs a couple episodes ago. Thank you guys again for being a part of this. And we want to do more shout outs. Like I was going to say, help us pay for the new office. We got the new digs. We're not, we don't need you to, but we'd appreciate it. You know what I'm saying?
Fucking do it, bruv.
There you go. References for this part of today's show: the Joseph Force Crater Wikipedia, heavy, untappedcities.com, an article called "The Mysterious Disappearance of Joseph Force Crater" by Irene Madrigal, and the charlieproject.org, which is a database for what?
Did you say the mysterious disappearance?
I could have.
You did. I heard it.
I thought I heard that, and I was like, I like that. I like that so much better.
It sounds better anyway. It was a mistake, but I'm going to pretend it wasn't. Charlie Project is an organization for missing people. Okay, Joseph Force Crater was born in Easton, Pennsylvania.
Yep. Did it again.
Did you get it? He didn't say Pennsylvania.
Mysterious from Pennsylvania.
Joseph Crater was born in Easton, Pennsylvania, the eldest of 4 children of Frank Ellsworth Crater and the former Layla Virginia Montague. Crater was educated at Lafayette College, the class of 1910, and Columbia University. He was a member of the Sigma Chi fraternity. Sigma Chi? Chi?
I don't know.
Sigma
I don't.
Chi?
Chai's a tea.
Chai
Yeah, that is
latte.
true.
Get a dirty chai latte.
I don't speak Greek, so I don't
That's
know.
true. He was part of Sigma Chi fraternity.
Ch-
During his time at Columbia,
I believe it's pronounced Chai.
Crater met Stella Mance Wheeler, who was at the time married, and Joseph would help her to get a divorce. The pair would marry shortly thereafter in the spring of 1917. Question number 2. What was Joseph Crater's job? Was he A, a judge, B, a lawyer, C, a paralegal, or D, a corrections officer?
Convinced her to get divorced right out of the gate. I would have guessed
I believe
a
I
gigolo.
said helped her get a divorce.
Ooh.
Could
You
it
gotta
be a
jump
clue?
her.
Yeah. Can you go through the
Oh
choices
my
again?
God.
I can
Judge,
ask questions.
a lawyer, a paralegal, or a corrections officer? Okay, Paul said paralegal.
I'm gonna go with lawyer.
Isaac's a lawyer. I'll say Isaac was closer, but no one gets the points because Crater's official title was
Judge.
Justice of the New York Supreme Court of New York County, which is still a trial court despite the designation Supreme, but it is New York State's highest of the Court of Appeals. So he was a judge in
He's
the
up there.
highest appeals court in the state of New York. Yeah.
And they didn't ever find his body?
Nope.
Interesting.
He is issued 2 public opinions. So essentially, like, he's responsible for 2 like heavy cases. These are going to mean nothing and sound super boring, but I put them in here anyway. Rotkovitz versus Son involving fraudulent conveyances and mortgage foreclosure fraud. And Henderson versus Park Central Motors dealing with a garage company's liability for an expensive car stolen and wrecked by an ex-convict.
I was wondering about
both
that.
of these led to legislation. So that's why it's like they're important cases. to
I
him.
like that in the late 1800s in New York City, somebody...
He was born in the late 1800s. So
Oh,
we're in like
okay,
the
okay.
1930s. now.
Okay, so
Yeah,
in
yeah,
1930s in New York City, somebody's like, yo, you made a shit garage and my car got stolen.
Yeah.
This is your fault. And somebody else was like,
Fair enough.
hey, Dad, the bank's going to foreclose unless you give me all this money. And this guy's like, "Pfft, hanging my hat on these 2 cases.
I got you.
I got these.
I am responsible
Yeah.
for these.
So in the summer of 1930, after the start of the first investigations of what would become the Seabury Commission, what the hell? The Seabury Commission. Crater and his wife were vacationing in their summer cabin in Belgrade, Maine.
Just say cranberry like an adult.
In late July, Crater received a telephone call. He offered no information to his wife about the content of the call other than to say that he had to return to New York City to straighten those fellows out. Which is 1930 talk for, I'm going to go fuck some motherfuckers up.
I'm going to go in there and smack somebody.
I'm
Are
going to
judges allowed to do that?
straighten these fellows out if you're a
Who's
crooked
gonna-
ass
who-
judge from
like,
the 1930s.
Who's going to put him on trial? Like,
Oh, and then if
who
they
watches
appeal,
the
guess who's
Watchmen?
the judge?
yeah.
Oh,
Too many questions. I don't know which one to answer first.
I know, and they're not for any points.
And I don't know what you said.
Exactly. The next day, he arrived at his apartment at 45th Avenue. Instead of dealing with business, he proceeded onward to Atlantic City, New Jersey, with his mistress, showgirl Sally Lou Ritz.
That's
He
pretty
left
boss.
his wife at the summer home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was like, "Hey, I got some real important shit to handle. This bitch."
Yeah, I know a showgirl that I want to handle.
Yeah. So you go ahead and hang out in Maine. I'm gonna go to Joyzy.
Also, I believe it's pronounced Greenwich Village.
What did I?
Greenwich.
It sounds so much dumber when I know that it's wrong.
I mean, it's...
Thank you.
No, you're right.
It's got a W, and
That's exactly how it's spelled.
And
but-
this is the upstate New York.
No. When
England.
when you said, I didn't catch it, but the second he said, I was like, oh, he's right.
Yeah.
I've heard that in movies.
Yeah, well, and he didn't say Greenwich like I did, where it's like something you get from a McMenu. But it's like,
Kind of hungry now, though.
can I get a Greenwich?
All right, Greenwich Village. So he's hanging out with his mistress. He dips on his wife from Maine to go to Atlantic City and hang out with his showgirl mistress.
The wife did it.
Crater returned to Maine on August 1st and traveled back to New York on August 3rd. So he went back for 2 days and was like, oh, yeah, I forgot that I got to do the business. See you later. And before making this
Bye.
final trip, he promised his wife that he would return by her birthday on August 9th. So 6 days later. Stella stated that he was in good spirits and behaving normally when he departed for the city. And on the morning of August 6th, Crater spent 2 hours going through his files in his chambers, reportedly destroying several documents. He then had his law clerk, Joseph Mara, cash 2 checks for him that amounted to $5,150. Question number 3.
What does that equal today?
How much is that in today's money?
Hey! I've been on this show.
Yep. Close to the answer gets 250 points. If you could nail it somehow, it is 1,000. It is quite a random number, though.
I'm going to start referring to like whatever room I have to go into as my chambers.
Yeah?
Yeah. That feels right. And it feels cool. Like,
you're not wrong.
Yeah, instead of saying, hey, I'm going to go into my room and play games and shit, I could be like, I'm going to retire to my chambers.
Okay, Paul says $199,761. I back it, Greg. Isaac says $100,150. This would be the equivalent to about $83,539.
I haven't
Give
won all
Isaac
season.
250 points for that one.
I take 3 years off in my winning.
Second or third time?
What?
On the season.
Well,
you were on the first episode with Bigfoot.
Third sitting down and being recorded. Second that will air.
Oh, okay.
Had a terrible.
You were on one of
guest.
the ends. So, congratulations, Isaac. Got some more points. Stretching that lead out. At noon, Crater and Mara carried 2 locked briefcases. Thank you for not destroying the table when he did it that time.
I went gentler this time. And I went down. Downward motion instead of the upward
I was
motion.
looking away last time. Wasn't expecting it. Startled me.
Got your titty flipped?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Almost flipped the table.
Shook your
I really
flip
did.
cakes.
I know.
That would have been funny, though. For me, not you.
Yeah. You'd have been helping cleaning, though.
Well, I got to poop.
At noon, Crater and Mara carried 2 locked briefcases to Crater's apartment, where Mara was told to take the rest of the day off. Hey, good thing you got me this money up here. Now get the fuck out of here. Later that evening, Crater went to Broadway ticket agency Supreme Tickets and bought 1 seat for William Deutsch, the proprietor of Supreme, for a comedy called Dancing Partner at the Belasco Theater. He then went to Billy Haas Chop House at 332 West 45th Street, where he ate dinner with Ritz and William Klein. Ritz is the showgirl, a lawyer friend. This was his last known sighting. Crater's dinner companions give differing opinions to his departure from the restaurant. Klein officially testified that, quote, the judge got into a taxi cab outside the restaurant at 9:30 p.m. and drove west on 45th Street. The account was initially confirmed by Ritz, quote, at the sidewalk, Judge Crater took a taxi cab. Klein and Ritz later changed their story and said that he had entered a taxi outside the restaurant, but that Crater had walked down the street. Like, it didn't pick him up right in front of the restaurant. He walked down the street a bit and then was picked up by a taxi.
Can't be seen with a hooker.
Yeah. There was a delayed response in investigating his disappearance. It did not elicit any immediate reaction. Question number 4. For how long was Crater missing before police treated the case like a missing persons? A little bit of a delay. How long? What do they say? The first 24? Is the first 48?
Usually, I mean, they say the first 48 is the most important.
Yeah. So
but they also say they have to be missing for 24. I
think mostly that's not a thing anymore.
Well, no, that's not a thing, but like that's one of those rumors that'll get somebody killed.
Isaac got his answer. It says 4 weeks. Paul says 1 week.
Like the Bare Naked Ladies song.
Give Paul 250 points because the investigation began when he did not return to Maine after 10 days. His wife began making calls to their friends in New York asking if they had seen him. Only when Crater failed to appear for the courts did they begin full investigation. So,
wait, so how long was it? I was
10 days.
Oh.
Pay attention.
I was celebrating. I'm going to fucking fight you later.
10 days before any formal investigation took place.
Seems too
And they
long.
didn't really go gung-ho into it until he didn't show up for work.
Gotcha.
Yep.
See, that's capitalism, baby.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Nobody
they started.
gives a damn until you stop producing.
They started a private investigation, but failed to find any trace of him. The police were finally notified on September 3rd, and after that, the missing judge was front page news. Once an official investigation was launched, the case received widespread publicity. Detectives discovered that the judge's safe deposit box had been emptied, and the 2 briefcases that Crater and Mara had taken to his apartment were missing.
Ooh.
Ooh, I don't think that he straightened these fellows out.
I don't think he did either. I think he's still alive. I hope he
He's just like,
I hope he picks up on your Patreon membership over here.
Dang.
Sends us some of that money.
117-year-old.
he's like 130.
Who had 80
He'd be like
grand
134 this year. So there were some promising leads, but most of them were quickly lost amid the thousands of false reports from people claiming to have seen the missing justice. That's right. Believe it or not, it is very important that if you don't have a very viable witness of seeing somebody, you shouldn't just clog up the lines and make people investigate it, and because then the real ones tend to fall through the cracks.
Yeah, see, I'm going to go with false on that. I like to call and be like, yeah, I saw him.
Yeah, you know what? I actually think I saw John Lennon yesterday.
Was
Is this
it
the FBI? They're like, sir, this is a Wendy's.
Giving false
Can I get
tips
some chili?
to like search parties may or may not be one of my favorite pastimes. So
saying.
just
Greg has been a part of his own search party on 6 different occasions. Force Crater enjoyed the city's nightlife and had been involved with several women throughout the last couple of years. In the aftermath of the case, two of the women he had been involved with left town abruptly, and a third was murdered.
By the wife.
Sally Lou Ritz, the showgirl who had dined with Force Crater on the final evening before he vanished, left New York in August or September of 1930. She was found in late September of 1930 living in Youngstown, Ohio with her parents. Ritz said that she had left the city suddenly because she had received word that her father was ill. All right, if that's what you say.
Because she didn't want to be deaded.
it sounds an awful lot like you better find a reason to leave town.
Yeah, she was still being subjected to interviews by police investigating the Force Crater case in 1937, by which time she was living in Beverly Hills, California. So they were still like questioning her fairly regularly.
You know what it
7
really
years
sounds like?
after he went missing.
It sounds like maybe a good guy gave her a way out instead of like, because in my head I don't know anything about this story.
Sure.
But in my head, this all just like reeks of like Jimmy Hoffa style mob tampering and all that, especially around the 30s. And so that's what's going on in my head. And at first I was like, oh, dude, it's just a mob guy who's like, the fuck out of town, you know?
Yeah.
But now it sounds like, do you have any family out of town you can go stay with? And she's like, yeah, I've got a dad. Okay, do you have a reason you can get out of town? We could say he's sick. Kick fucking rocks. Get out of town while you still
see
can.
you again.
Yeah, like while you still can type
good
thing.
song.
Like witness protection.
Yeah.
Another woman that Force Crater dated was another showgirl named June Bryce.
But he's got a type.
Yeah, she had been seen talking to Force Crater the day before he disappeared. A lawyer acting for Crater's wife believed that Bryce had been at the center of a scheme to blackmail Crater, thus explaining why he had taken cash out of the bank, and that a gangster boyfriend of Bryce had killed the justice. So that is his wife's official. That's what she thinks happened, was this woman.
She blackmailed him, and so he tried to pay her off, and then the boyfriend said that's not enough and killed him.
Or said that's plenty, but just killed him anyway, you know?
Yeah.
Take the money.
No
and
witnesses. A lawyer acting... Oh, wait, no. Bryce disappeared the day that a grand jury was to convene on their case. So they're like, all right, grand jury, let's go, baby. And she was nowhere to be found at any time after that. In 1948, she was discovered in a mental hospital in upstate New York. That is 18 years after this. So, I mean, a lot can happen. But
I like the phrase discovered in a mental hospital.
Yeah. They just stumbled upon... Whoa, hey.
I know you.
Your name sounds familiar.
Is that June? June Bryce?
Were you in the
Did
newspaper?
you ever blackmail a judge?
Who, me? No.
So, Vivian Gordon, a third woman, was involved in high-end prostitution and linked to Madame Polly Adler. Gordon had liaisons with a large number of influential business people and was the owner, on paper at least, of a number of properties believed to be fronts for illegal activity. She was also seen around town with gangster Jack Legs Diamond, with, like, how do you get that nickname?
He doesn't have legs.
With whom Crater was also rumored to socialize. Hi, Lieutenant Diane. Crater had known Diamond's former boss, organized crime figure Arnold Rothstein, and had been extremely upset at Rothstein's murder. On February 20th, 1931, Gordon was angry about a conviction that had resulted in her losing custody of her 16-year-old daughter. She met the head of an official inquiry into city government corruption launched in the wake of Crater's disappearance and offered to testify about police graft. She was murdered 5 days later.
Should have gone to visit her sick dad.
The wife did it.
You think so? You think that's where this is going?
No, I don't know.
Scorching hot take from Paul.
Thanks. I'm going to write an article. It's going to be an opinion piece.
No, he's
I'm
not.
going to do my own podcast about it called The Wife Did It.
I say there's less of a chance of that than there is of the article.
Yes.
So, yes, Diamond. What was her first name?
Simpson.
Legs? Ruby.
Yeah, whatever. We're just getting her Diamond. Okay,
Got
Diamond was killed 5 days after she was pretty much like, yeah, I'll tell you about all the shit
No, wait.
that's going on.
Diamond was the boyfriend. That his name was Legs Diamond.
Oh, that's right. Vivian Gordon. That's
Yeah,
the one
there
who
it
was-
is.
Yeah, there
There
it
it
is.
is.
Yeah,
Flash
Diamond was
Gordon's
the
sister.
boyfriend. That's right. Legs
Flash
Gordon.
Gordon's sister.
Legs Gordon's girlfriend. The publicity surrounding Gordon's surrounding Gordon's killings led to the resignation of a policeman whom she had accused of framing her and the suicide of her daughter. Tammany? Oh, yep. That's not a name. Tammany Hall's hold on the city was largely eliminated in the ensuing scandal, as it had already been weakened by Rothstein and the conflict over his former empire. The scandal also led to a resignation of Mayor Jimmy Walker, and in October, a grand jury began examining the Crater case. There's a lot that surround, like, it's not just like, oh, this guy went missing and everybody was like, oh, fuck, that sucks. Like, led to, we just,
Yeah.
like,
Open up a big can of worms.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
the mayor resigned, and
Yeah.
like a police chief was like, I don't work here anymore.
I got a sick dad in
Yeah,
South Carolina or wherever it is.
yeah, upstate.
I get you.
The scandal also led to the resignation of Mayor Jimmy Walker. In October, a grand jury began examining the Crater case. Question number 5, 95 witnesses were called, amassing how many pages of testimony?
Oh.
A lot of numbers ones in this one.
I'm really good with numbers.
I know. Close to the answer gets 250 points. 1,000 if you can nail it. 95 witnesses. About, so you just think, like, what's the average witness give in pages of testimony?
Can I check my website?
No.
Oh. I have an article up. It's an opinion piece.
Somehow I already knew that. Yeah, you love opinion pieces tonight.
It's the theme.
Paul, how many
I
pages
wrote.
of
Hold on. I wrote an
testimony?
answer.
1,743.
That's way low. I'm going to go with 10,122.
Okay. I like your confidence.
Yeah, we're off, aren't I?
Yeah, you are. Give Paul 250 points because the 95 witnesses would average just about over 10 pages apiece and amass 975 pages of
This is all
testimony.
handwritten. I don't have computers
I
yet.
There were typewriters
I
in
didn't
the
carry the
30s.
zero.
Oh.
That's why.
Crater's wife refused to appear during this testimony. The conclusion was that, quote, the evidence is sufficient to warrant any expression of opinion as to whether Crater is alive or dead, or as to whether he has been absented himself, or whether he has absented himself voluntarily, or is the sufferer from disease in the nature of amnesia, or is the victim of a crime. Pretty much like, yeah, we have evidence of a bunch of things happening, but we can't tell you what it is. There's no way to pinpoint if he's dead, if he just, because like that's the whole thing with like missing adults, is that like you're allowed to just leave. You don't have to tell your family and shit. Like it's not
Especially
the
in this
police's
time when-
responsibility to go investigate that either.
Especially in this time where you could literally just go like 2 towns away and be like, yo, my name is something completely different
Yeah.
than what it actually
We had
is.
that with Henri Landru. Like
Yeah.
we had this French serial killer who was, I believe, active in the 30s and 40s.
No, it was earlier than that because it was World War One.
Okay, yeah. So he would just move like 2 towns over, like take the train 2 stops and be like, no, I am this man now. And you just start a whole new deal.
That'd be dope.
The
good old days.
I would do that.
Hey,
I would do that in a
Jinx
heartbeat.
by makeup.
Yep. Okay, so I'm not going to read that whole confusing thing again. We just know there's evidence, but nothing that's going to point any direction. On January 20th, 1931, 6 months after his disappearance, Forrest Crater's wife found envelopes containing checks, stocks, bonds, and a note from the justice in a dresser drawer, which had been empty when searched earlier by police. So there were stuff in a desk that the police had searched and found nothing in, and then she found stuff in them. So
So she put it there.
or Force Crater left her some stuff behind, like stocks and bonds. Essentially, money was found in the desk.
Or do you think it was like a false bottom in the desk where like you open the drawer and you reach up and there's a little secret pocket and the cops were like, we can't find anything, damn it, and they slammed the drawer shut and then they leave and that knocked it loose. And
God, I love Hella.
Did they have those in the 30s?
they've had those since forever,
Yeah.
dude.
Yeah.
As long as there's been people keeping secrets, there's been ways to keep secrets, my friend.
So the discovery led to new but ultimately inconclusive leads, and no further trace of Crater was ever found. The case was officially closed in 1979. We're going to go back in time a little bit because it kind of does a recap. And so I've got a good question for you guys.
Ooh, I have
Again,
an answer.
remember from the beginning.
Yep.
Crater met Stella Mance in 1917 when he served as part of her divorce team as a lawyer before he was a judge. Question number 6. We said it was shortly after. How long after the divorce was final were Crater and Stella married? Was it A, 3 days, B, 7 days, C, 21 days, or D, 30 days? So we know that it was within a month of her divorce. They were married. Was it 3 days, 7 days, 21, or 30 days later?
Not enough days.
Yeah, right. Okay, you guys both said 7 days. Give them both 250
Don't
points
growl,
because,
man.
yes, 1 week later, they were like, well, we got the divorce on Friday, and next Friday, we are going to be married. They married
enough
7
time to
days
plan a
later.
wedding.
What's that?
It's not enough time to plan a wedding.
Yeah. 7 days after her divorce was finalized, Ms. Crater remained at their vacation home in Maine during the search for her husband until her discovery of the hidden envelopes. Without Crater's income, Ms. Crater was unable to maintain the couple's Fifth Avenue apartment and was evicted. She petitioned to have the justice declared officially dead in July of 1937 because she was reportedly living on $12 per week, which is approximately $240 now, so about $1,000 a month.
Can't even eat Panda for that.
That she earned as a telephone operator in Maine. So she was like, please, there's life insurance. There's retirement. If
There's
he's
benefits
dead,
that I can get.
these things. Please help me.
And they're like, why do you want them so bad? You sound awful greedy and guilty and suspicious.
Telling you, it was her.
Ms. Crater remained at the vacation. Oh, yeah. So she made $1,000 a month in today's money, which, like you guys know, that's...
Why didn't she get a job?
She did.
She was a
got
telephone
$1,000.
operator.
That's what she got paid as a telephone operator.
You know what she should have been? Showgirl.
Yeah, I don't know.
Isaac, do you realize she was living pretty well?
She was like a socialite.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she was doing really well for herself until her husband died. And then or disappeared. And then now that he's disappeared, she can't get any of those benefits. So now she's like she started from the top and now she's there.
She's opposite Drake.
Yeah, reverse Drake.
100 to 0 real quick.
Reverse Aubrey.
Yeah.
Miss Crater married a man named Carl Coons, in New York City electrical contractor in Elkton, Maryland, in April 23rd of 1938. Coons' first wife hanged herself only 8 days before their wedding. Crater was finally declared legally dead in 1939 thanks to Ms. Crater's lawyer, noted New York attorney Emil Ellis.
You know what that sounds like to me? They were like, we don't have the money to pay her out. Like, it's the Great fucking Depression. We can't give her any of this money, dog.
Yeah.
And then they were like, well, stall. And they're like, till what?
Stall them.
And they're like, I don't know, man, till Germany starts acting up. Okay, cool, man. And then, like, they're like, oh, shit, we got money now. Hey, by the way, your benefits paid out.
Yeah. Oh, he's dead. So she received $20,561 back then in life insurance, which is approximately $431,000 now. Miss Crater separated from Coons in 1950. She's like, oh, bitch, I got money now. I don't need you.
These hoes ain't loyal.
And in 1969, at the age of 70, would die. Miss Crater expressed her belief that her husband had been murdered in her own account of the case. The Empty Robe, which was written with freelance writer and journalist Oscar Fraley and published by Doubleday in 1961. So that's her book surrounding the case. Yeah, Paul, so read it. On August 19th, 2005, authorities revealed that after Queens resident Stella Ferrucci Good's death at age 91, they had received notes that she had written in which she had claimed that her husband, NYPD detective Robert Good, had learned that Crater was killed by Charles Burns, an NYPD officer who had also worked as a bodyguard of Murder Inc. enforcer Abe Reels, and by Burns' brother, Frank. There's so many names in this. I know it's a lot to take, but essentially she's on her deathbed and was like, my husband knew the dude who murdered Forrest Crater.
But he was never... This is like... I saw an episode of Scooby-Doo where like Velma, goes to do the final reveal, and it's somebody that hasn't even been in the episode. So she was literally like, she broke like the fourth wall. She's like, how am I supposed to know it's him? He hasn't even shown his face yet in this episode.
Yeah. So
same kind of thing.
That's like exactly what this feels like. According to the letter, Crater was buried near West 8th Street in Coney Island, Brooklyn, at the current site of the New York Aquarium. Police reported that no records had been found to indicate that skeletal remains had been discovered at that site when it was excavated in the 1950s to build the aquarium. Richard J. Toffel, the author of Vanishing Point, The Disappearance of Judge Crater, and the New York he left behind, expressed skepticism at her account. So nothing, like, her notes brought up, like, whoa, what the fuck? But it didn't lead to any actual
they're all 160 at this point. So like,
yeah, she was 91 when she
sense?
died, and that was 18 years ago.
Yeah,
so
160.
Say that again?
So you want me to make that make sense?
Yeah, let's hear your...
All right. Dirty cops, because he's out there killing people.
Right.
Dirty cop.
Okay.
Tied in with the mob.
Uh-huh.
They bury him there.
Right.
They get ready to excavate in the 50s to build this aquarium.
Uh-huh.
It's done with union labor, controlled by the mafia. So they didn't find nothing. You know what I mean? And then they go ahead and build it, and the whole secret lives on because that's what you're supposed to do. You toe the line.
Very good. Very good.
Dude, hella
Thanks
gets
for clearing that up, bro.
Is that,
Hella
where
gets
the,
it.
is that where the line's at?
Seacrest out.
Okay, bye.
So I've got a second story. We're going to take a little break here. We'll take 5. We'll come back for that. It's a little bit longer than that one, but trust me, it's...
Do all of the characters play a part until the end? Like,
Are there going to be any wild
or am I just going to be like,
surprises?
oh, it's the wife the whole time, and then it's some dude who hasn't even made an appearance yet?
Well, nobody...
Somebody looked real stupid during this portion.
Yeah, but remember when I said that they were unsolved?
No.
And then you the whole time were like, it's the wife. Like I was going to have an answer at the end.
Right.
But I don't.
Right.
So
He did say it was unsolved.
yeah. So according, yeah,
I don't believe it.
Yeah.
A couple of times, in fact.
Don't worry, I won't rewatch this just to make sure that I don't hear that.
Hey, Paul, tell us a story about you on the
Probably
cruise.
thrown off.
Anyway, we're gonna take a 5-minute break. Come back, or we'll kill you. Welcome back, everybody. If you're here, it means we don't have to kill you.
Ooh.
If you're not here, you might think that we don't have to kill you, but we do. We will be finding you.
It's
we will
a-comin'.
be killing you. We told you that if you didn't come back, we'd kill you. So whatever played there, it might have just gone, come back or we'll kill you. And then just to me going, hey, welcome back, everybody. There might not be anything for there. So you might not, but if you left in that time, you're dead.
Imagine you pause it at that point, go pee, come back, but you accidentally skipped ahead 10 seconds and find out you're dead.
Oh, man.
Should have done it.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, second story tonight is the murder of the Grimes sisters. References, shut up.
The wife did it.
References for this is the murder of the Grimes sisters Wikipedia page. Told you. HistoricMysteries.com, Unsolved Murder of the Grimes Sisters by Doug MacGowan, and TheLineup.com, The Chilling Unsolved Murder of the Grimes Sisters by Gary Sweeney. Question number 7. In what year did this event take place? 1965, says Isaac. Did you just reuse your answer?
I did rewrite it.
Okay, but it is the
Yes.
same.
Did you go with 1971 again?
I did. Yes. It's a good year.
You said 65. He said 71. Give Isaac 250 points because on December 28th, 1956.
Ooh, I was close.
Better than last time.
Yes, much better.
What's the score now, Greg?
17-2.
It was. Yep. It's 1,750 Isaac.
Okay. So it's a close game.
It is a close game.
I was waiting for my score. I thought that was like his score.
1,000 Isaac, 750.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
thought this is even.
I was like, dang, I thought I was
okay.
closer. That's a lot of points he has.
Okay. On December 28th, 1956, 2 of the 7 children born to Joseph and Loretta Grimes, sisters Barbara, who was 15, and Patricia, who was 12, opted to view a screening of a movie. Barbara and Patricia had been described as being inseparable sisters. Yes.
Was it The Ring?
No. Barbara and Patricia have been described as being inseparable sisters and attentive students at the Thomas Kelly High School and St. Maurice Catholic Elementary School they respectively attended. Question number 8. The night they went missing, they were going to see a movie. What movie? Was it A, Godzilla, King of the Monsters, B, The Ten Commandments, C, Around the World in 80 Days, or D, Love Me Tender?
What if The Ring was an option?
Dang. So
Process of elimination. And you know how I do. These are all movies that are from 1956, so you're not going to catch me by happening to know a movie.
I opened up Chrome earlier and I saw.
Oh, did you?
I was like, I wonder when that's coming into play.
Hey, what was B?
So you got A, Godzilla, King of the Monsters, B, The Ten Commandments, C, Around the World in 80 Days, or D, Love Me Tender. Paul says Around the World in 80 Days.
I tried to draw the world.
Isaac says The Ten Commandments. Neither of them are correct because the girls were known
Love
to
Me
be
Tender.
very big Elvis Presley fans.
Yeah.
Devoted
Godzilla.
Elvis.
You had
Two teenage or preteen girls in 1956.
Love Godzilla. That's why I put it as my answer.
They were in Catholic school. I figured they're going to go
watch
about the
Have you met
commandments.
a Catholic? Hey, Kennedy,
they
tell Isaac some of your stories.
also like. Why would you go watch the movie when you've already read the book?
Right.
Hey, yo.
That's why I haven't seen Godzilla.
Touche.
So they are known to have been devoted fans of Elvis Presley, and both had recently joined his official fan club. This particular occasion was the 11th time the girls had viewed the particular film of Presley's.
Seems excessive.
I think also it's like 1956. Like, what else was there? It's like, you got the movies, the malt shop, and
Asbestos fights.
yeah, there you go.
Showgirls.
Asbestos fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the 30s though.
Well, they're probably still around. What year are we in?
This is 1956.
Yeah, they're definitely still there. I just Googled it.
Cool. He didn't. They're big Elvis fans. They've seen this movie 11 times already. They're going back. The sisters are known to have left their residence at approximately 7:30 p.m., having promised their mother they'd be home before midnight. The Brighton Theater was located approximately 5 hours. Sounds like a long time for a movie. It was because the movie was playing 2 more times that night. So they're like, we might see
They were
it
going to try and make it a baker's dozen.
We might check it twice tonight, just so you know. So we'll be home by midnight. The Brighton Theater was located approximately 1.5 miles from the girls' McKinley Park home. Barbara and Patricia are presumed to have had approximately $2.50 in their possession at the time they left their home, with Barbara having been instructed to keep 50 cents of this money in the zipper of her wallet should the 2 girls opt to view the second screening of this film scheduled to be
much was
shown at the
popcorn?
theater. I mean, 56, popcorn is probably a nickel. You know what I mean? Like,
Back in
good
my
price.
day, 50 cents got you 2 tickets to a movie, a popcorn, and a whooping.
I was wearing an onion on my belt.
As was the style at the time.
I was staring at Priest Cartman while he said that. Or whatever.
Faith plus 1, Cartman.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Oh, Jesus, I love you so much. Put your salvation all over my face. Okay. It is unknown how the sisters actually traveled to the Brighton Theater on this particular date, although they had invariably either walked or traveled by bus to the destination. 1.5 miles. It's a 30-minute walk at most.
That's a
It's
lot.
about 1.25 miles longer than I'd walk. But
Okay,
yeah.
so you guys would have been on the bus. Good to know.
We barely made
I
it
didn't want
here,
to
and I
drive
drove.
7
Now,
miles.
if you guys
Jesse.
go missing,
Just leave me there. Wherever it is, just call it a day.
Okay, so at the movies, a school friend of Patricia named Dorothy Weinart would later inform investigators that she had been seated behind the girls with her own younger sister during the film, although Weinart and her sister had left the theater at the intermission of the double feature screened at the Brighton Theater that night at approximately 9:30 p.m. So they were there. There are people who were like, yeah, we saw them at the theater watching the movie. It's important for people's last night to know where they're at, not just assume where they're at. So we have somebody who's seeing them up until about 9:30. As they had done so, Dorothy saw the Grimes sisters standing in line to purchase popcorn. The 2 had seemed in good. I don't know how much it was, Paul. The 2 had seemed in good spirits.
Gots to know.
Neither Weinert or her sister noticed anything untoward in their demeanor. Both sisters stayed to view the second screening of Love Me Tender, thus meaning they would be expected to return home approximately 11:45 p.m. When the girls had not arrived home by midnight, their mother Loretta sent their older sister Teresa, who was 17, and their brother Joel, who was 14, to wait at the bus stop located closest to the family home for their arrival. So, like, all right, I'm not that worried, but, like, go wait down at the bus stop. It's kind of late. Get them home safe so I can beat their ass when they get here, you know? After 3 successive buses had driven by without either girl jumping off, the siblings returned home. Having by this stage already unsuccessfully contacted the girl's friends in the hope of her daughters may be at one of their addresses, and upon seeing the return of Teresa and Joey to the family home without their sisters, Loretta Grimes filed a missing persons report on her daughters with the Chicago Police Department at 2:15 a.m. on December 29th. So this is how you fucking get it done.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit. It's 2 a.m. And again, we were talking about the difference between adults and missing kids. It's a lot
more urgency.
Yeah. A citywide search for the girls was quickly initiated, to which hundreds of police officers were subsequently assigned full-time. So there was like literally hundreds of officers working the case on a full-time basis. They clock in, they work this case until they clock out, they come back and they do that shit all over again.
Well, that's good.
Cook County officers were assisted by colleagues from surrounding suburbs, and a task force devoted solely to locating the sisters was formed, with the ground search initiated on December 29th being bolstered by hundreds of local volunteers. Police conducted door-to-door canvassing throughout Brighton Park, and numerous canals and rivers were dredged. In addition to this, more than 15,000 flyers were distributed to local homes, and parishioners of the Sisters Church offered a $1,000 reward for any information leading to their whereabouts. Like, this is all one day after they went missing. The church is like, we got a G-bar. We've printed out 15,000 flyers. We're dredging lakes and rivers. We're, you know what I mean?
They're hitting it hard.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Question number 9. A lot of people were questioned for this case over the entirety of it. What is the estimate by the police of how many people were questioned? Closest to the answer gets 250 points if you can nail it somehow. You get 1,000. You love that number.
That's odds on odds. I like odd numbers.
This is 1971.
You just said 71.
No, this isn't a year question. Don't tell him. He hasn't written his answer
He's
yet.
writing it right now.
If you write 71, 72, or 73, I'm going to fuck you up.
74 it is.
70.
What a bitch.
He goes lower to 70. A lot of people were questioned for this case. What is the estimate of people questioned?
Better get this right.
As a result
Don't
of
touch
this coordinated investigation, approximately 300,000 people would be questioned, with some 2,000 individuals subjected to serious interrogation pertaining to their potential culpability, although the 2 arrests and charges brought against individuals who confessed to the crime were subsequently collapsed. So
that's a lot of people.
So,
and that's why I left it kind of open. These were just people who were questioned.
They weren't
they went door to door.
Yeah.
They talked. So the police
that's a lot of
had like, notes. I talked to Dolores Merriweather at her home. She didn't see anything. I talked to Tom Sparks at his home. They didn't see anything. 300,000 people in the greater area were questioned. 2,000 people were brought back to have serious questioning about where the fuck were you that night?
Hey, we were both way off.
Yeah, they actually helped you that you put 71 because I was going to put 110. And then
That's stupid of you.
Yeah, kind of backfired.
I mean,
backfired just a little bit.
But that tied it up.
Yeah, I did.
Ooh,
That tied it up. 1,000 all.
1,000 everybody. Okay.
Brand new game, boys.
I mean, it's the same game.
Well,
Okay, so I don't know if you heard it because we got a little riled up, but there are 2 arrests that are going to be brought against individuals who confessed to the crime, but both are going to end up being false confessions. One individual who confessed was Edward Bedwell. He had asserted that he had been coerced into giving a confession after being subjected to a prolonged interrogation.
did you just say Bedward Edwell? Because that's what I thought I heard.
I mean, I
I'm
meant
just
to
kidding.
say Edward Bedwell. I was like, how bad am I tonight? Fuck.
17.
Or 71, whatever.
One individual, Edward Bedwell, asserted that he had been coerced into giving a confession after being subjected to a long interrogation. He pretty much said they kept him in there for 24 hours, roughing him up a little bit, telling him he was there, and then finally he's just like, "Fuck, I'll sign whatever."
This was the 50s, not the 30s. You're getting the stories mixed up, Paul.
Same.
Despite police efforts and extensive media appeals producing many reported sightings of the girls, little in the way of hard evidence was yielded, although several teenagers who had been in the Brighton Theater on December 28th did inform investigators that they had seen the sisters conversing with, then entering the car, driven by a young man whose physical appearance had been similar to guess who?
Elvis Aaron Presley. It was his twin brother.
It's the doppel.
I just think that's such a fun. I love that
like-
you guys got it.
He's like, "Hi, my name's Aaron Elvis Presley," and they were like, "Shut the front door."
The vehicle described by these eyewitnesses was consistently described as being. I'm going to leave it out because I got a question similar to this, and I don't want it's
Black.
just a car.
It's black.
Prior to the implementation of the task force, and despite protests from the girls' parents, several investigators initially assigned to the case theorized that the sisters had either run away from home or were voluntarily staying with boyfriends. They asserted at this point, like, there's no way that they're out here and we haven't found them. Like, we've questioned enough people. We've dredged all the lakes and rivers. We've been in homes. We've seriously looked into 2,000 people. Some search warrants they've got nothing. So they're like, at this point, the police are like, they ran away. They're staying with some friends. They don't want to, they don't want to be with you guys anymore, essentially. Like, that's kind of the official stance of the police at this point. Although the sisters were the front page news of December 31st, their disappearances would only be seriously considered as a missing persons case and thus appropriately treated as such by investigators after approximately 1 week had passed without family and friends receiving any form of contact from either girl. So they did the 300,000 people. Then they're like, look, they probably just dipped. Let us know. You're probably going to hear from them in the next couple days. They're going to turn back up at home. Stay in touch with us, And then after another week, they're like, dude, nothing. And the cops are like, all right, I guess we'll have to really fucking do this.
Oh, damn it. Now we have to go search.
Right. Numerous alleged sightings of the sisters would be reported to police as late as January 9th, and these reports often described one or both of the girls as having been seen in various business establishments. These sightings supported several investigators' initial theories that the girls had opted to leave their home on their own accord. Theories also abounded that the sisters may possibly have traveled to Nashville, Tennessee to see Elvis Presley in concert, or that they had simply left their home of their own volition as means of emulating Elvis Presley's lifestyle. He's like a young, on-the-road renegade, and they were like, fuck it, we're Elvis now.
I mean, they had 250.
Yeah, that's true. In the event her daughters had actually been kidnapped, Loretta Grimes publicly pleaded, quote, "If someone is holding them, please let the girls call me," adding, "I'll forgive them from the bottom of my heart." The people who kidnapped them, not her daughters.
Oh, I was like, dang, man. She was like, you guys really wanted to leave, but I forgive you.
So it gets big because on January 19th, an official statement was issued from Elvis Presley's Graceland estate. This televised statement read, "If you are good Presley fans, you'll go home and ease your mother's worries." So they had whoever does the Elvis Presley press conferences, they literally televised this thing because they were like, look, they're huge Elvis fans. If they ran away, we're going to have the Graceland estate say, "Hi there, pretty mamas."
I was just gonna say, it didn't sound like that. That it was.
But this isn't Elvis. This isn't Elvis.
Elvis himself
this
couldn't
is
make a cameo.
Graceland. Yeah,
He was busy.
Wait.
Question number 18.
Graceland makes a statement. If you're good Presley fans, you'll go home and ease your mother's worries.
Then Elvis tweeted later on.
Presley is also known to have made a direct radio plea to the Grimes sisters, imploring the girls to return home to their mother. So he didn't do a televised bit, but he did a thing on the radio saying, "Hey there, pretty mamas,
after
it's time to come home and ease your mother's worries. Love me tender." Yeah. And on January 22nd, 1957, following a rapid thaw of recent snowfall, a construction worker named Leonard Prescott spotted what he later described as being, quote, "these flesh-colored things" behind a guardrail as he drove along a rural county road named German Church Road, approximately 200 feet east of County Line Road in unincorporated Willow Springs. Initially unsure of the origin of what he had seen and believing the forms may have been mannequins, Prescott later returned to the site with his wife Marie, who fainted upon taking a closer look at what her husband had earlier seen.
He told her, he said, "Go out there and look at that in the snow, see what it is." She walked out. She went,
There were
Just
3 bodies.
face down in the snow, and he was like, so I was right.
Yeah. Prescott later returned to the site with his wife. Yep, the forms were actually the nude, frozen bodies of the Grimes sisters, and the Prescotts immediately reported their findings to the Willow Springs Police Department. The girls' bodies lay upon a flat, horizontal section of snow-covered ground directly behind the guardrail, which extended for just 10 feet. So just think, like you go up in the hills and there's like an area where the road kind of curves, so they put like 20 feet of guardrail there, because that's where you're going to go off if you go off.
This will save you.
Like this is where that's 10 feet of guardrail. They were just tossed behind that. Barbara lay on her left side with her legs drawn slightly up toward her torso, and Patricia lay on her back with her body covering her sister's head and her own head turned sharply to the right. It is believed the sisters had most likely been driven to this location in a car, with their bodies then being dragged or lifted out of the vehicle, then placed or thrown behind the guardrail. Question number 10. Barbara had 3 wounds on her chest. What type of weapon? Was it A, a knife, B, a gun, C, an axe, or D, an ice pick? Knife, gun, axe, ice pick.
God damn, dude. Imagine having to swing an axe 3 times. That's so exhausting.
I feel like after once, though, like you're swinging
It's
it.
overkill.
Yeah. Knife and axe, say Paul and Isaac respectively. No points will be awarded because 3 wounds resembling those typically inflicted by ice picks were discovered upon Barbara's chest, and injuries resembling blunt force trauma were visible upon her face and head.
Knives are basically ice picks.
I'm going to be honest with you. I pictured an icicle. Even though you said ice pick, and I was like, "You're not going to get me on this one."
Oh, you're telling me she was stabbed with the stalactite, huh?
Yeah.
I'm not stupid. You're stupid.
So yeah, she had 3 what appeared to be ice. Very long,
yeah,
skinny. Could have possibly been a screwdriver, but
It's probably a knife.
Nope.
Yes, the old round knife.
the old round, super skinny.
No blade, just a point.
Yep.
I think they call them ice picks.
Yeah.
Some would say they do, and some would say they don't.
There's one person who would say they don't. It's you.
Yes.
While numerous injuries resembling bruises were discovered upon Patricia's face and body, the girl's father, Joseph Grimes, was driven down to the crime scene to formally identify both bodies.
That's the worst.
Following Joseph's initial positive identification of the bodies, over 160 police officers from several suburban Chicago police departments, assisted by numerous local volunteers, conducted another search of the crime area with additional assistance of the forest preserves. This search uncovered little or no real evidence linked to the crime, and any potential link, any item discovered at the crime scene, had the murders had never been determined. So there's nothing out there. And then they think that the search itself was later criticized for those organizing the search, allowing untrained individuals to trample over any evidence that may have been at the location that they didn't identify. So if you're not a cop trained to look for things that are out of the ordinary and maybe considered evidence, you're just like a guy.
Yeah.
Stay out
Like
from
if someone
behind
was
the
like,
caution
hey,
tape.
go look for evidence, and there wasn't like a shell casing on the ground or like a bullet embedded in the wall, I'd be like, I didn't find anything. You know what I mean? Like,
You're
what the
not
fuck
trained.
Yeah, exactly. They're just like, all right, everyone, fan out and look for stuff.
Find something that looks strange. But
These
also,
autopsies would be performed by 3 experienced forensic pathologists who, following a 5-hour examination of each body, were unable to reach an agreement on either a date or a cause of death. So the 3 top pathologists in the area get together, spend 5 hours on each body. They're like, they each have a cause of death, and they each have a length of time they believe that the bodies or the girls have been dead, but none of them agree or match with one another's answer.
so you got to just like average it out.
Yeah, that's what I was like. How does it work at that point? Like, what do you put on the death certificate? So these experts did determine,
Just leave it blank. I don't think anybody's going to notice.
via an examination of the sister's stomach contents that contained the approximate proportions of the last known meals or the subsequent snacks the sisters had eaten on the evening of December 28th, and both girls had most likely died within approximately 5 hours of the time that they had been seen alive at the Brighton Theater, thus fixing the most likely time of death in each instance to have been either the late evening of December 28th or the early morning of December 20th. So they still had like popcorn and banana split in their stomach. It was like all the stuff that they were seen eating at the movie theater was still the contents of their stomach.
Dog. movie theaters have banana splits?
No, that was like a fact I remember from one of the other articles is that like they had dinner that night and Patricia didn't eat because between school and going home, she stopped at the
got a
banana split, and so she didn't really have a bunch of dinner.
There's always money in the banana stand.
Yeah. Let's see. The cause of death in each case was ruled as being a combination of shock and exposure. So that's what went on the death certificates.
Really?
It was shock and exposure.
Wasn't the knife wounds in the chest?
Although
she died of exposure, so she fell, and then the icicles fell on her.
Yeah. Wait, now they're icicles?
although
Thought they were knives.
It's called a callback, Paul.
Although each
Wasn't around for
pathologist reached this conclusion via a process of eliminating other causes, in addition, these experts concluded that many of the wounds discovered upon the girls' bodies had most likely been inflicted by rodents, with the actual puncture wounds having most likely been inflicted after death. No obviously fatal wounds were discovered upon either girl's body, and toxicology reports revealed that neither girl had been drunk, drugged, or poisoned prior to their death. No items of the sisters' clothing were ever found, although their bodies were described by the pathologist as being markedly clean. The autopsies would also discover that Barbara had likely engaged in sexual intercourse, either consensual or non-consensual, around the time of her death, although no evidence of forcible molestation was found. So it's like one of those things, like, yeah, there's semen, but like there's no sign of trauma. There's likely a consensual or an unconscious situation. She wasn't drunk, she wasn't drugged, she wasn't poisoned. So I know, twists and turns, buddy. That's why I brought the case. The specific means the official death certificates of both Barbara and Patricia would list their cause of death as being murder. Cause of death, murder.
Okay.
The specific means of which, in both cases, was listed as being secondary shock resulting from exposure to low temperatures, which had reduced each girl's body temperature below the critical level compatible with life. So
They froze to death.
that's what. Yeah, they were murdered by being left out in the open. Somebody left them incapacitated, and yes,
Sounds like the first one was in the fetal position, so
yes, correct.
from the knife wounds.
One of the coroners to perform the autopsies, Walter McCarran, surmised the sisters' bodies had lain undiscovered behind the guardrail on German Church Road for many days before their eventual discovery, stating that the bodies' markedly preserved condition, given the time interval between their disappearance and discovery, had been due to the frigid temperatures in the week prior to January 22nd, adding that this had been due to recent snowfalls in the frigid climate. McCarran also concluded that the girls' bodies had lain undiscovered for more than 3 weeks because a layer of snow had blanketed that area on January 9th, and that this snowfall had rapidly melted in the days immediately prior to their discovery. So this guy's not giving up on it. He's going, they've made their decisions. The other two are like, okay, I've done my thing. I'm walking away. And McCarran's like, fuck this. All right, I'm going to look at the weather. I'm going to look at the snowfall. I'm going to look at this. And that's what we're seeing here. He thinks it's been several weeks. There was a sheet of snow that came, kept them under. They were frozen. That sheet melted. It's probably been 3 days for that to melt. And now this is why they've been discovered right now. Despite these official conclusions, the chief investigator of the Cook County Coroner's Office, Harry Harry G. disagreed with the official time of death, later stating to the media there had been numerous, quote, marks of violence on those girls' faces, strongly indicative of their being recipients of violence as opposed to post-mortem rodent infestation. Harry G. also contended that a thin layer of ice found encrusted upon the sisters' bodies indicated that they were most likely had been alive until at least January 7th, since only after that date there would have been enough sufficient snowfall to react with the girls' natural body heat in such a climate to thus create a layer of ice discovered upon their nude bodies in this location. So he says they were alive at least until the 7th, and they were put out there. He's the lead investigator, or the prosecutor. All of the pathologists are like, well, their stomach contains stuff that says they were likely killed within 5 hours of them being at the theater. And he's like, nah,
Bruv.
nah. So,
Don't you know popcorn's like bubble gum? It takes 6 years to get out of your system.
yeah. So he's the chief
that a callback?
investigator of the Cook County Coroner's Office.
facts.
So like he's the dude who's like, it's not like he doesn't know what he's talking about, but it's like these people have the evidence and they cut him open. He's got the evidence of science.
Yeah.
Harry G. also contended that Harry G. contended that This proved their bodies had been warm when they had been deposited beside German Church Road since only after January 7th. Yeah. In addition to these facts, Harry G. also stated that both girls had been subjected to sexual assaults throughout their period of captivity, adding that the autopsy conducted upon Patricia had discovered semen in the vaginal fluid swabbed from her body, and that curdled milk had also been found in Barbara's stomach when she is not known to have drunk milk either at her home or in the cinema in the evening of December 28th. None of the pathologists mention curdled milk, but the lead investigator does. I'm sure he's also privy to have been there during the autopsies, and maybe, I don't know, maybe he had a different interpretation of something that he saw. I don't know. I imagine he knows plenty if he's going to be the chief investigator, but
You would hope so.
yeah. So Harry G. agreed or believed strongly an official suspect in the case named Edward Bedwell had been the individual who committed the sisters' murders. Harry G. asserted that the wound marks noted upon the girls' bodies in their autopsies had neither been adequately investigated or considered. He would also further assert his opinion that the wounding and assault marks had been evidence that the girls had been beaten prior to their murder and, in tandem with the evidence of sexual activity, were thus in line with claims that Bedwell provided the investigators in his January 1957 interrogation. So he's saying this one guy he believes the main suspect. He was the dude saying they were beat, and he's saying everything lines up to this. So question number 11, Harry G. said the police withheld information. Remember, Harry G. is the lead investigator of the coroner. He said they withheld information. Why does he believe that they did that? Is it A, that they did it, the police were involved in the disappearance, that they were protecting the person who did it, that they were protecting the family's reputation, or that they thought it was an open and shut case? Like, we don't got to share all this shit. We know. Like, now we know. So they believe that the police did it, that the police were protecting somebody, that they were protecting the family's reputation, or that they thought it was an open and shut case. Paul says B, they were protecting the person that did it. Isaac said C, they were protecting the family's reputation.
Nobody gets points.
Harry G. would also claim that investigators had refused to disclose these and potentially other lurid details of the case due to the possible desire to protect the girls' and families' reputations. Isaac gets you 250 points.
B is basically C.
Or spare their mother's feelings. So it is 1957. So it's like one of those things where they're like, yeah, there's stuff in the case that does kind of make it funny, but we don't believe it's important, so we don't need to, like, because now it's like, think about, like, I always think about, like, Trayvon Martin, right? Trayvon Martin was killed, and they're like, oh yeah, but did you know he shoplifted? He did this, he did this, he did this. And that's kind of what it feels like.
They're digging for stuff to make it seem to justify it.
Right. And in 1957, the police were like, yo, kind of, we don't need to bring all that out. It has nothing to do with this. So, like, Harry G's like, yo, you got to fucking put it all out there. And the police are like, well, we don't think it has anything to do with the murder and them. So, like, why put it out there for everybody? So, like, there's, like, a little integrity in the world. And now we're like, you motherfuckers, we need to dig up all the dirt possible. Oh, you piece of shit. What, did you just get murdered? Yeah, right. You probably murdered people yourself, you fuckface. America.
I thought C was protecting the murderer's reputation, just for the record.
He said family's reputation.
Whose family? The murderers?
You gotta listen.
They didn't know who the
How many
murderer was.
questions?
I mean, I listen well. I don't
That was
interpret
question
well.
number 11.
Question number 11. Okay, so there's 3 left. It's 1250 to 1000.
Oh,
It's a close one.
Plenty of
Fun
time. So Harry G. would claim that they, they were just keeping back details to protect the mother's feelings, the family's reputation. Similar allegations would be repeated in later years by others, some of whom claimed have both seen the original case files and have interviewed numerous McKinley Park residents who allege both girls had been seen and had the habit of spending free time outside bars on 36th Street and Archer Avenue, where they regularly persuaded older men to purchase alcoholic drinks to be delivered to them outside the premises. So they were out there, hey, mister.
Shoulder tapping.
Yeah, a little, hey, mister, buy us some booze? Despite Harry G's insistence that the pathologists had taken the girls off Madison Street and put them into respectability. So that's what he was saying, is like, okay, by not putting them where everybody is saying they were. Like, that's nice that they're respectable, but we're not giving the story. People need to know what the fuck happened, not what the fuck public perception should be.
Yeah.
So current day is Harry G's fault. Investigators connected the case. Investigators connected to the case continued to insist that there had been no evidence of either girl being disreputable or the recipient of extreme violence or sexual molestation prior to their death. After refusing to retract his statements, Harry G was fired by coroner Walter E. McCarran on February 15th, although Harry G would insist his firing had been politically motivated. Nonetheless, Harry G would later be deputized by Sheriff Joseph D. Lohman, who concurred with Harry's conviction that the girls had likely been beaten and tortured by a sexual predator and lured them into his vehicle upon an innocent pretense to continue to work on the case without pay. So he hired him as an investigator, but not get paid. But Harry G was so into it, he's like, fuck it, I'm deputized at least. I've got the power that I need. So that's fine that you can't pay me. You gave me what I need. And
That's the same shit I'm looking for.
Investigative power that I had
That's
as the coroner.
That's all you want.
that's what I'm trying to get from MUFON. Like, I don't want to pay your fees and be a part of your club. I just want the thing that says I can get the access.
What does the access get
I don't
you,
know
though?
what a MUFON is.
The Mutual UFO Network.
Oh.
Yeah, they're investigators.
In my head, it was spelled differently. So
Was there a PH in there?
no, there's a couple O's.
Oh,
Ooh, fun. It's like
Like,
a
what
cow.
kind of cows do you want access to?
Cow
over here?
fanatics.
I didn't know this about you.
Milk's
Greg.
expensive.
or the CIA. You know, if I could get in with them, but I know I wouldn't get in with them.
Have you applied?
I would not apply.
Between the last confirmed sighting of the sisters at the Brighton Theater on December 28th, 1956, and the subsequent discovery of their bodies 25 days later, several unconfirmed sightings of the sisters, both in and outside Chicago, were reported to the Chicago Police Department. The most widely reported sightings include the following. Numerous people stated to investigators that they had seen the girls boarding a Chicago Transit Authority bus on Archer Avenue, heading east into the city after the screening. So they lived outside in the suburbs, outside the city. People are like, no, we saw them going deeper into the heart of the city. Those who reported this sighting to police included the bus driver. So the bus driver that took into the city was like, yep, they got on my bus.
Oh, so he ID'd them.
Yeah. But
Like
that was
that.
one of the things that was held back. So the sisters allegedly alighted at Western Avenue approximately halfway between the theater and their home at approximately 11:05. Why the sisters would exit the bus at Western Avenue is unknown, but a young man named Roger Menard informed investigators he had also attended the December 28th screening of Love Me Tender, having sat behind Barbara and Patricia Grimes and close to one. This is the guy we talked about earlier. According to Menard, he had left the theater approximately 1 minute before the sisters, who had walked down Archer Avenue a short distance behind him before a car stopped alongside them. Question number 12. What type of car did Menard see pull up next to the girls? Was it a Chevy, a Buick, a Cadillac, or an Oldsmobile? Chevy, Buick, Cadillac, Oldsmobile.
I want to guess on this one, too.
Cool.
Yo, toss me a card and a pen.
All right.
What was that?
Greg and Isaac say Cadillac. Paul says an Oldsmobile. Menard said that he saw a late model green Buick stopped alongside.
Is that an
them.
option?
Yes,
Yeah.
that was B.
I really do focus in on one answer, don't I?
The girls, yes, you do. The girls hesitated before continuing walking. So the car pulled up. They look into the car, they talk, and they just walk down a little bit. Just past 42nd Street, with the sisters by this stage walking ahead of Menard. A black 1949 Mercury occupied by two teenage boys pulled alongside the girls, although they simply giggled before continuing walking the direction of their home. Two teenage boys named Ed Lorden and Earl Zastro, those are definitely fake names,
Right.
informed investigators
Facebook 'em.
that while they had been driving through the McKinley Park at approximately 11:30 p.m. on December 28th, they had seen the sisters on 35th Street. That's 7 streets away from 42nd, by the way, guys.
Is that how that works?
Yes.
Yeah, in New York it is. I don't, maybe not everywhere, but what are you doing there, Paul?
I think there was a spider or a dust particle.
Did you get it?
I don't know.
Attaboy.
Okay, so the two had been giggling and jumping out of the doorways at each other near Sealy and Damon Avenues, with one youth exclaiming to the other that they were, quote, the two Grimes sisters. So they're pointing, like the one guy points out to the other one, like, oh, there's those two Grimes sisters.
There they are.
And the girls are like jumping out of doorways, like, trying to scare each other at 11 o'clock at night. Shut the fuck up out there.
Yeah.
At this point, the girls would have been approximately 2 blocks from their home. So they've gone 7 blocks. They're 2 blocks from home. A security guard named Jack Franklin later informed investigators that he had offered directions to 2 girls on the morning of December 29th, approximately 12 hours after they left the theater. This verbal exchange had allegedly occurred near Lawrence and Central Park Avenues, and Franklin later concluded the girls had been the Grimes sisters, adding the sole reason he had recalled this conversation was that both girls had been rude and abrupt to him. So he remembers it because they were bitches. But then later he's like, holy shit, those bitches were these missing chicks.
But they were a couple blocks from home and stopping to ask for directions.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, Greg.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, maybe they were intoxicated, but the talk screen came back clean. So
What a twist.
I have questions.
Oh, remember how there was also 300,000 people questioned,
Yeah.
2,000 questioned seriously, multiple people admitting to it that didn't actually.
No, I know.
I know.
He has a question about a question.
Do you?
No, him.
No, he doesn't. On the same date of Franklin's alleged sighting of Barbara and Patricia, a friend of Barbara's named Judy Burrow reported to investigators that she had been at the sisters approximately 2:30. She had seen the sisters at approximately 2:30 p.m. walking westward on Archer Avenue, which is 2 blocks from Damon Avenue. So that's the following day. So this security guard said he saw him around noon. This chick said she saw him around 2:30, near where the security guard said. So there are 2 people saying that they saw him
In that area.
Yeah. A classmate of Patricia's named Catherine Borak was adamant that she had seen Patricia walking past a restaurant Borak had been inside of in the early morning of December 29th. According to Borak, Patricia had been in the company of 2 unidentified young girls. This sighting was followed by another 6 hours later by a cashier at the Clark Theater in downtown Chicago who claimed he had seen both girls at 12:45 a.m. A railroad conductor named Bernard Norton reported seeing the 2 girls aboard a train in the Great Lakes Naval Training Center in north suburban Glenview. According to Norton, the 2 girls had been searching for 2 sailors named Terry and Larry. That sounds like a bad SNL sketch.
I was gonna say that sounds made up as hell.
On December 30th at 5:40 a.m., the owner of D&L Restaurant at 1340 West Madison said that he had seen both girls, with Patricia apparently too drunk or too sick to walk, without staggering, accompanied by official suspect Edward Bedwell. Like, what?
Okay.
It just doesn't stop. The location was over 5.5 miles from the Brighton Theater, and a clerk at the Claremont Hotel, after reviewing the bodies at the mortuary, likely identified the sisters as having checked into the hotel on this day. So there's a hotel clerk who's like, okay, I fucking saw them too. So there were just tons of people who were like, absolutely, I saw them. They were at my hotel. Absolutely, I saw them. They were on my train. Absolutely, I saw them. They walked by my restaurant.
Is it following like a pattern? Is it going a direction, or is it like they're over here, then they're over there?
They're like in Chicago. That's kind of the idea. Is they're like in downtown Chicago. Is they've gone from the outskirts. I don't know.
Oh, that's what I mean. Is like, are they like being seen here, then here, then here, then here, and like moving southbound?
It gave us the streets. I probably could have like put together something.
This mystery went from like super vague to suddenly feel like we have all the details.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of details. I got a lot more. On January 1st, 1957, the girls were reported to have been missing aboard a Chicago Transit Authority bus on Damon Avenue. The following week, a night clerk at the Unity Hotel at West 61st Street refused 2 girls a room because of their age. So another hotel clerk is like, nah, I can't get you this room. You're not old enough. The clerk believed the girls in question had been the Grimes sisters. On January 3rd, 3 employees at an Inglewood department store claimed to have seen both girls listening to music at the store's record counter. Each employee stated that the sisters had been listening to music by Elvis Presley. Adding credence to the theory that these sisters had run away to Nashville, on January 17th, a woman named Pearl Neville contacted investigators to state that she had met both girls in a Nashville restroom on January 9th, and that she had accompanied them to a state employment agency to search for work.
In Nashville? Tennessee.
Yeah, because they wanted to be like Elvis.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Yeah, it's pretty far from Chicago.
Yeah, that's more than 2 blocks from home.
Yeah, a clerk at this agency would later identify the sisters from photographs, also recalling that both girls had used the surname Grimes in the application forms that they had populated. So there's a woman who's like, yo, I saw them. I went with them to this employment place. Investigators go there, and the employment place is like, yeah, totally remember them. I remember the names. I remember seeing the 2 of them here. According to Neville, both girls had been in what she described as being a tired, bedraggled condition. A clerk at this agency would later identify the sisters from photographs, also recalling that both girls had used the surname Grimes. Yep. In the early hours of January 14th, the parents of a classmate of Patricia Grimes named Sandra Tolston received 2 separate anonymous telephone calls. During the first call, nobody at the other end spoke. Picking up the second phone call approximately 15 minutes later, Sandra's mother, Anne, had heard a frightened and depressed young female voice asking, "Is that you, Sandra? Is Sandra there?" Before Anne could bring her daughter to the phone, the call was terminated. Mrs. Tolston informed investigators that her conviction that the caller had been Patricia Grimes. Outside the show, we all got talking and exchanged phone numbers. When we got onto the street where we turned off and said goodbye, we ran across the street. Then Betty forgot something and had to tell Barbara, and we ran back to the corner. A man about 22 to 25 was talking to them. He pushed Barbara in the back seat of the car and Pat in the front seat. We got the part of the license plate as the car drove by. The first 4 numbers were 2184. Betty thinks there were 3 or 4 numbers after that. When they heard that they were missing, we didn't know what to do. So this is like
You didn't think to tell somebody
I
something?
know, like
They're leaving a lot of stuff out.
Yeah, like holy shit! I was gonna go run back across the street to tell my friend something, and then somebody threw her in the back of a car, and I was like, "Dang! Oh well."
Okay, bye.
So I think I was actually incorrect because it says here the January 19th television and radio appeal by Elvis Presley imploring the sisters to return home. Chicago Sun-Times advice columnist Ann Landers received an anonymous letter allegedly written by a girl who claimed to have witnessed the sisters being forced into a car by a young male on the night of their disappearance. That's the one we just kind of went through. Although a partial license plate number was provided, nothing else.
Did it match Bed Edwell?
Ed Bedwell. The author of this letter was never identified. The actual contents were never authenticated. They don't know. They got no idea. So we've got some suspects. Edward Lee, or Benny Bedwell, was a 21-year-old semi-literate drifter originally from Tennessee who had been evicted from his family's East Garfield Park home in November of 1956, and in the weeks preceding the Grimes sisters' murders had occasionally earned money by working as a part-time dishwasher in a Chicago Skid Row restaurant. Bedwell was a tall individual who allegedly bore a strong resemblance to Elvis Presley. According to John and Minnie Duros, the owners of the restaurant where Bedwell had been employed, he and another young male had been at her premises in the company of 2 girls who physically resembled the Grimes sisters in the early morning of December 30th. Duros conveyed this information to the police on January 24th. Bedwell was arrested thereafter and subjected to interrogation for 3 days. Initially, Bedwell was insistent that John and Minnie Duros and a patron named Renee Eccles, who have corroborated the Duros eyewitnesses' statements, were mistaken in their identification of the girls and had been in the company of... So essentially, like, yeah, they were here with girls, but I actually don't think it was the Grimes sisters. However, he was formally charged with the sisters' murders on January 27, 1957, having signed a 14-page confession in which he said that he and 28-year-old acquaintance named William Cole Willingham had indeed been in the company of the Grimes sisters on December 30th. So it's like, oh yeah, we saw him with them. And then some other people were like, nah, never mind. And then he's like, yeah, all right, I was with them. He stated that they were together until January 7th, typically drinking in various West Madison Street Skid Row saloons. According to Bedwell, after several days, the girls' willing company, shortly after he and his companion had fed the sisters hot dogs, they had extensively beaten both girls before throwing their nude bodies in a snow-filled ditch when both sisters had refused their sexual advances. Upon reading Bedwell's confession, Loretta Grimes was quoted as stating, "It's a lie. My girls wouldn't be in West Madison Street, and they don't even know where it was." Willingham admitted that he had been in the company of Bedwell and the 2 girls early in the hours of December 30th, but denied that that the girls had been the Grimes sisters. So he signed something saying he killed the Grimes sisters, and this guy's like, yeah, I was with them, but what the fucking Grimes sisters that we were with? He also empathetically denied any involvement in any murders. Emphatically, not empathetically. Bedwell himself would later recant the confession he had provided to invest. So Bedwell even later is going to be like, it wasn't real. You guys were interrogating me for 3 straight days. Like, what the fuck did you want me to do? He had only provided a confession after being held in custody for 4 days. The autopsy reports upon both girls also supported Bedwell's recantation, as no alcohol or hot dogs were found in either victim's blood or digestive systems, nor had the girls been beaten to death.
Nerds. You ain't got beer and hot dogs, dude? Like, what did he take him to a fucking Dodger game?
Furthermore, Bedwell is also known to have clocked in an Ajax Consolidated Company, his place of employment, from 4:19 p.m. on December 28th, 1956 to 12:30 a.m. on December 29th, covering the most likely time of the sisters' abduction. So he's like, he's got an alibi.
That seems a little suspicious.
That he was at work during the time of their...
Yeah.
I mean, unless he didn't have anything to do with it. With further records confirming Bedwell had also been working in Cicero on the day he said he had murdered them. On February 6th, Bedwell was freed on a $20,000 bond paid by an individual from a charity. The same year of his acquittal, Bedwell had to be tried and acquitted of the 1956 rape of a 13-year-old girl in Oak Hill, Florida. So he was...
He's already a winner.
Piece of shit.
Yeah, but he was tried and acquitted 2 times of the murders, and he wasn't tried of the murder, but he was arrested. And charged.
Who's his lawyer?
Yeah, Max Fleeg, another suspect, was a 17-year-old suspect in the sisters' murders. Initially considered one of the prime suspects due to his age, Fleeg was protected by contemporary Illinois laws that prevented juveniles from subjection to polygraph tests. Nevertheless, Chicago Police Captain Ralph Pettigrew, Ralph P., persuaded the teenager to submit to an unofficial polygraph test, which Fleeg voluntarily undertook. In the course of his unofficial polygraph test, Fleeg allegedly confessed to the murders. With no legal means of using this test as evidence against Fleeg, police were forced to release him without charge.
It's a roller coaster.
In addition, police were unable to charge Fleeg with the murders due to there being a lack of physical evidence corroborating his confession that he had kidnapped and subsequently killed the sisters. Fleeg was later jailed for the unrelated murder of a young woman. So another one. And that's the second suspect.
Chicago is just...
But it's
filled with
also,
great
they
people.
were both later. Like, it wasn't like,
they should have just arrested him for the first one, and those 2 other people would just be alive.
Dum.
I feel like if somebody wants to come in and confess to a murder, you could be like, all right, I will go ahead and lock you up, and we will try you for murder, and you will go to prison, and, like, the case can stay open. We can keep searching for the real guy. We know you didn't do it.
Yeah.
But, like, you want to confess to something? We got some cold cases in the back you can confess to. And
the old Henry Lee Lucas. We'll get you a milkshake. You admit to a murder.
Yeah.
All right. Question number 13. Another suspect is a man named Walter Kranz. How does he claim to be connected to the girls? Is it A, he remembers them from the movies? He was there. Love Me Tender. He has seen them around the neighborhood. He was their neighbor, or he was psychic.
Elvis impersonator.
Seen him at the movies, seen him around the neighborhood. He lived next door, or he was a psychic.
He was an Elvis impersonator, and they hired him to take MySpace photos.
This is a suspect, but he also claims to be connected to the girls.
I want him to be psychic.
That's what I wanted to, but I'm not going to go with it.
You said
That's
B?
smart. I'm going to go with C.
Okay, that's you got a lot going on. B?
Neighbors.
Oh, neighbor.
Yeah, so
okay,
C.
so C. Both of you guys said C, that they're neighbors. You're like, your finger was literally pointing down.
I was trying to...
Yeah. You both said C, and neither of you are going to get points because Walter Kranz, a 53-year-old steam fitter and self-proclaimed psychic, phoned a switchboard operator at Chicago's Central Police Complaint Room on January 15th to inform the operator of his conviction that both sisters were deceased and that their bodies could be found in an unincorporated area of Lyons Township. You got to go with your gut, Paul.
Hold on.
What are you writing there? Psychic?
Psychic.
Nice.
Oh, changing the answer. I'd like to also change my answer.
No, it's too late. We're tied now?
Nope. So let's see. Yeah, so he called. He's like, yeah, they're dead. I believe their bodies are near Lyons Township. Kranz refused to disclose the name of the operator, his name to the operator in the phone call, simply stating that he had experienced this revelation in a dream before terminating the call. Nevertheless, the operator was able to trace the call to a location close to his home, and the park described by Kranz in his telephone call would prove to be approximately 1 mile from the true location of the girls' bodies, where they were just found 1 week earlier.
Yo, Chicago PD had call tracing technology in the 50s?
I guess.
That's wild, bro.
Maybe, but it didn't.
Yes.
It did say that they traced his call to an area near his home. So they probably then investigate. They're probably like, all right, it was on this pole that it came from, so that taps into these houses.
Right, which is close enough. It's
Yeah,
that's still they were able. I didn't assume that Chicago PD would have call tracing technology in the 50s.
Yeah.
They do. When questioned, Kranz informed the police that several members of his family and ancestors possessed psychic powers and that he had experienced this particular vision after a night of heavy drinking. That's when we're all at our best.
He said, I'm a seer, just like my father before him. We were all seers.
It just took this bottle of moonshine.
Special moonshine.
Yeah, and another bottle of gut rot. Although initially considered by police to be their number one suspect in the murders, and then handwriting experts also determining that he may have written the ransom note received by one of the girls' mother prior to the discovery of their daughters' bodies, Kranz denied any involvement in the sisters' abduction and murder. After being subjected to multiple interrogations, he was released. In the weeks between the disappearance and subsequent discovery of her daughter's body, Loretta Grimes was unable to work and thus earn money to raise her children and pay the mortgage upon her home. Friends and neighbors of the Grimes family, plus classmates and teachers of the sisters, organized various initiatives to raise funds for the family. Additional funds will be raised via the local press and council, with the donations raised via all various methods ranging from 50 cents to $500. Consequently, all funds raised would enable the Grimes family to both pay the remaining mortgage on their home and bury Barbara and Patricia's bodies. Following a wake held in the girls' memories on January 25th and a holy mass conducted at St. Maurice Church, Barbara and Patricia Grimes were laid to rest at the Holy Sepulchre Cemetery at Alsip, Illinois on January 29th. All fees for the service were waived by the Walschlager Funeral. What the fuck? Can there just not be one normal name?
Yeah, I know.
Honestly, it's
Start renaming stuff.
It's Chicago, so they're all Polish.
Yeah. The Walschlager Funeral Home and the sisters are buried side by side. Among those to serve pallbearers at the service were classmates of Barbara's, and in May of 1957, Loretta Grimes received an anonymous telephone call from an individual who claimed to have undressed and killed her daughters. Although the Grimes family had received numerous hoax phone calls following the girl's disappearance, this particular caller, having ridiculed police efforts to affix blame upon such... This guy calls and he's just talking shit. Like, they tried to get Ed Bedwell. They tried to get the fucking psychic. They were wrong. It was me. And again, she's gotten hoax calls, so she understands that. But the caller said, I know something about your little girl that no one else knows. The police didn't even put this information out. The smallest girl's toes were crossed at the feet. She had some webbed, her feet her toes overlapped, essentially. And,
I got that.
Webbed feet are gross.
And
Fuck you.
And he knew this, and that was not information that had been put. But
Lucky guess.
well, also if you were just I'm not saying that friends of the family do this kind of thing, but if you were a big enough troll and you were a friend of the family and never just
What?
Yeah,
All right, fine. If you're such a tough guy and you know everything, what's your name? He's like, Skank Hunt 42.
yeah, exactly. 1 year after the murder, the caller then laughed in her face and terminated the call after giving evidence that no one else knew.
Trace it.
He said, click. The one thing is that they called the police department, if only, right? 1 year after the murder of her daughters, Loretta Grimes publicly stated her conviction that her daughters had been murdered by an individual that they had known, stating that although the weather had been bitterly cold on the night of their abduction, Barbara and Patricia would never have entered a vehicle driven by an individual unknown to them, regardless of any discomfort. Joseph Lohman, the Cook County Sheriff, who strongly believed that the Grimes sisters had been beaten, tortured, and murdered by a sexual predator who had lured them into a vehicle in the evening of their disappearance, died of natural causes in 1969. So he doesn't get to take his case any further. At the time of his death, Lohman was the dean of the School of Criminology in Berkeley. On the 18th anniversary of the disappearance of the Grimes sisters, Ermis Spiato, the sole detective who had been involved in the investigation of the girls' murders from the very beginning and who remained assigned to the investigation, again announced to the media and police that no credible suspects had been brought up in the case. This dude was on, it was his case from day one. Well, he was part of the hundreds, and they all fettered out, and then at the end, he was the one dude who still had this case on his desk. Officially, the murders of the Grimes sisters remain unsolved, although this is technically still an open case. The Grimes sisters' younger brother, James Grimes, who was just 11 at the time of his sister's murder, stated that in 2013 that he welcomed what he saw as a public reopening of the case, stating, quote, "I just assumed that it was never going to be solved, but maybe there's hope." In 2013, a retired West Chicago police officer named Raymond Johnson began a personal investigation into the case. Johnson, considered by many to be an expert on the case, had become interested in the Grimes sisters in 2010 when he had been researching a book about the city's history.
So he learned a little something about the case and was like, oh, this is super interesting, and then just picked up the ball and ran with it.
Retired cop.
Good for him.
You know those guys got to stay fucking doing something. So.
Good for him, though. I mean, like...
No, exactly. He was like, I'm going to write a book about Chicago history. Did it. And then he was like, there was some interesting shit in there. I better investigate further. He did.
Hello, second book.
Having extensively researched the case, Johnson had stated his conviction that the case is still a solvable one, but only with public assistance, and that he believes that the perpetrator of the crime had been 23-year-old self-confessed child killer Charles Leroy Melquist, who had been considered a suspect in the sisters' abduction and murder in 1957. Melquist had been convicted of the September 1958 murder of a 15-year-old girl named Bonnie Lee Scott, whom he had known prior to her murder, and whose decapitated body had been found 2 months after her disappearance. Question number 14, how far apart were the two body dump sites? This is Bonnie and the girls. What's the score?
He's up by
It is
250.
1250 to 1,000.
So, Paul, if you get this right,
I win.
and Isaac doesn't, it's a tie,
And
right?
I win.
Is that
Yeah, it's
right?
be a tie.
Yeah.
Tie
We'll
goes
go to
the
an
winner.
artistic challenge.
First one of the season.
If it happens, so
Ooh.
Paul's got to get this right.
That's not going
And
to
Isaac's got to get it wrong.
It's true.
So hide your answer. How far apart were the two body dump sites? Is it A, 1 mile, B, 2 miles, C, 5 miles, or D, 10 miles? 1, 2, 5, 10.
Why'd you say it like that? 1 mile, 5 miles, 10 miles.
I like to put the wrong emphasis and the wrong syllable from time to time. Paul said 5. Isaac said 2.
We have a winner.
Isaac did not get it right,
Listen.
But either did Paul.
but neither did Paul. The bodies were found just less than 10 miles from where the Grimes sisters' bodies had been discovered. Following the discovery of Scott's body, investigators had noted similarities in this murder and body disposal that was the same as the Grimes sisters. Nevertheless, Melquist was never questioned as his potential culpability in the Grimes sisters' murders, as his attorney had forbidden him to be subject to questioning. The day after the body of Bonnie Lee Scott was discovered, Loretta Grimes received a phone call from an individual who, on this occasion, claimed responsibility for Scott's murder. On this occasion, the caller had stated, quote, "I've committed another perfect crime. This is another one those cops won't solve, and they're not going to. They're not going to affix blame onto Bedwell or Barry Cook this time." Loretta Grimes would remain adamant until her death. This caller had been the same individual who had contacted her in May of 1957 and revealed the deformity upon one of her daughter's feet, which had never been released to the press or the public, stating, quote, "I will never forget that voice." Charles Melquist is never charged with this alleged involvement in the deaths of the Grimes sisters, and he died in 2010.
Wow.
Congratulations goes to Isaac.
Yes. I'm 2-0.
Look at you.
Yeah, I don't want to brag or anything, but I'm shooting 1,000.
Look at you, buddy. Well, you won. Is there anything you'd like to say?
I just want to
parting
once again
words?
wish Jesse a very happy birthday.
Thank you.
So that's really about it. And suck it,
I'm
Paul.
an old man and suck it, Paul. But it's your turn, so
Me?
say what you need to say.
I feel like I need to start drinking again on here. I had a much better winning record when
It's
I
a
was
long
drunk.
drive home, man.
Yeah.
All right, so start.
Do you have a helicopter yet?
Uber.
Hey, Patreon, give me a helicopter.
There's your camera right here. Look at that one.
Where are you looking? Where are you looking?
The other camera.
The camber pointed directly at me.
Hey, it's a wide lens. Lens.
You
Yes,
wanna look at
Patreon.
mine too?
Get Paul Uber rides
it.
here so
see
he
how
can
this
get drunk.
You
Yes.
son of a bitch.
Uh,
Buy me vodka, Patreon. Do I have
heli-
a level yet?
What's that?
Do I have a level yet? No. Oh. I have stickers if anybody wants them.
All right, there you go. I love ogre stickers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I bought like 100 of them.
Oh shit.
They don't come in ones and twos.
Greg, anything for the end of the show, buddy?
No, man, that was a wild ride. That was A lot of information, a lot of names being thrown out. But
I know.
But it was interesting, and I feel like I learned something. I don't know exactly what, but I learned something.
Next week, for you guys, it'll be just later this week for us, but we have the Hillside Stranglers coming back up. It was one of the original deleted episodes, so we got some Kenneth Bianchi and Angelo Buono coming up, and they're going, these guys are fucked up. So,
I think... Is that the one where I went to the artistic challenge and then had the pizza through the...
Why are we talking about food so much?
Maybe.
I'm starving.
Yeah, where
Maybe.
I'm pretty sure.
It is possible.
Yes.
All right, guys, check us out on all the social medias. We are on YouTube. If you can hear this right now, you can also see, stop by youtube.com at Serial Chillers Podcast. You'll be disappointed in how we look.
Hi, I'm Isaac.
Your name is literally under you. Written.
You sound so stupid.
The Threadless store has all the clothes. You can find links to the Threadless store at serialchillerspod.com. The stickers and keychain are at serialchillerspod.com. Just look under the merchandise tab, I believe it is. Patreon, guys, give us a hand if you can. As little as $1 a month. I mean, listen, it goes a long way. If 100 of you jumped on right now and gave $1 a month, incredibly helpful. Again, we don't expect it, but we do appreciate it. So thank you guys who do give. If you don't want to give on a monthly basis, you can also go to serialchillerspod.com. There's a donation spot. So if you want to give us $10 to help out, or say, hey, buy yourself a beer or whatever, like, you can do that too. You don't have to give on a monthly basis if you do want to help out. Unfortunately, we can't accept Bitcoin. We tried this. So again, if you want to send us any cool drugs or anything fun, P.O. Box 1229, Clovis, California 93613. If it's extra dangerous or explosive, attention at Hella Greg. Again, serialchillerspod.com for all of that, all the links, everything's there, the address, the phone number. You can text us, guys. You can call us, guys. 1-805-666-2513. You can email us. I don't know if Greg's got the contact page up, but if he does, all of those guys, contact us. Do it.
Do it.
You won't.
Do it.
All right. Any final words, guys?
Lonelyfans.com with 2 Z's.
I always remember it, but I leave it for you.
Thanks.
Yeah, for sure.
Aw, it's special.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anything?
Yeah,
Anything,
fuck
boys?
Isaac. I'm the real winner.
Man, you really got him 4 minutes after he got you.
It's a slow burn. I'm still focused on 71.
Yeah, you did a lot of 71s tonight. Well, for Isaac, for Paul, for Hella Greg, I am Cromulent Jesse, and remember, don't talk to strangers.
Do it.